Hey everybody, it's Bobby here today with day 2 of our cooking camp, and we are going to prepare macaroni and cheese from our Made with Love Kids in the Kitchen cookbook. This is so awesome. I've got kids, and you have a lot of fun teaching kids how to cook. There's a lot to learn. I remember learning how to cook when I was old enough to see over the stove, and it's a great way to get your kids involved in cooking at an early age. So let's get started. I've got a stick of butter that I'm going to melt in my on my stovetop here, and a stick of butter, y'all. Look right on the side here, shows you that it's broken down into tablespoons, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tablespoons of butter in a stick. Okay, my recipe calls for 6 to be melted over here, and then reserve 2 more for our topping. So here's what I'm going to do: 1, 2, cut. And I'll save these 2 tablespoons for a little bit later on for my topping. So there's 2 tablespoons, and they'll be over here waiting for us. So I'll take the other 6 tablespoons of butter, and I'll go ahead and begin to melt them in our pan. And we're making one of my favorite things, and something that all kids really love, and that's macaroni and cheese. Such a fun dish, so tasty, and I don't know, it's just always a big hit. And you can make different variations of macaroni and cheese. You can add things, take things out. It's just a fun kids dish. So I've got my stovetop on, and my butter is quickly beginning to melt here. I'll help it out with my whisk. And to this, we're going to add some flour. Won't take long. And I've already made, let's come right over here, Ed. I've already made, the recipe calls for 16 ounces, which is 1 pound, of elbow macaroni pasta. And I've already cooked it and drained it, and I've got it here in my bowl ready to go. And we're going to get to that in just a minute. Okay, so going exactly by the directions. Cook the pasta. We've already done it. Preheat the oven. I've got the oven on. In a medium saucepan, melt the butter over medium heat. That's happening. Set aside 2 tablespoons of butter. We've already done that for our topping. Stir in the flour and slowly add milk. Okay, so our flour. How much flour does it call for? It calls for 1/3 of a cup of flour. Now, my mom has got some beautiful measuring cups over here. Measuring spoons, excuse me. And this one's marked 1/3. So here's our 1/3 of a cup of flour. Well, Bobby, that's a big, tall, that's more than 1/3 of a cup, isn't it? And it is, you're right. So what we'll do is we'll pack it down, and I'll scrape off the top and get it nice and even. So that way we know that we've got 1/3 of a cup of flour. I'll add it into my butter, and we'll stir, stir, stir. Whisk, whisk, whisk. And I want to make sure that this is not too high, right? Because I don't want to burn my butter. Butter burns, everybody. Remember that. Butter will burn. You can burn just about anything, but butter will quickly burn on you if you don't tend to it. So I've got my butter and my flour together in our pan. And to that, I'm going to add some milk. Okay. Let's see. Slowly add the milk. How much milk? 3 cups. Okay. This is a dry measuring spoon, so it's made for dry ingredients, things like flour or sugar. And then you've got wet measuring cups for your wet stuff. How do you know that this is for wet? Well, if you look on the inside, you'll see that the measurements are facing you, so you can see them as you fill it up with liquid, with water or with milk or whatever. I need 3 cups, and there are different kinds. So you'll see, like, here's a good example of one right there, and you can see how the numbers all face you, so you can see them. So as you're filling this up, you can see the liquid rise up to what you need. So we'll do 2 cups of milk, because this is a 2-cup measurer. We'll have to do 2 and then come back and do it 1 more, okay, for our 3 cups. So slowly add in the milk. And that milk is cold, so that's going to cool everything way off. So, and plus your milk will curdle. Butter will burn and milk will curdle. So I want to add it in kind of slowly. I want to scald it. And get these things going together. This is going to make a nice wet base for our macaroni and cheese. Okay, so 2 cups. And then we'll come back and we'll do 1 more cup. And I can see my number 1 measurer down there. The line that says 1 cup, so I'll fill up to it. 1 cup. All right, so I've got 3 cups of milk that I've measured out with my butter and with my flour. And I've got my stovetop on low. Let's see what's next in our cookbook. Slowly add the milk, stirring constantly while bringing to a boil. I'm going to take my temperature up from really low to like a medium. What'd you do with your whisk, Bob? Oh, there it is. We'll stir this and bring it to a boil. Now that's going to take just a minute, so why don't we take a quick break and then we'll come right back to Kids Cooking Camp. So we've come to a boil with our milk, flour, and butter combination. It's nice and thick. I've turned off the stovetop. And now to this, I'm going to add our cheese and salt and pepper. All right, let's see. The recipe calls for 12 ounces of cheddar cheese. This is a 12-ounce bag of cheddar cheese. But I think what I'll do is I'll add our salt and pepper first.
It's actually a 16-ounce bottle, just so you know. So you have to kind of cut a little out.
Ah, 16-ounce bag of macaroni and cheese. Sorry, I didn't read the label. There's a lesson right there. So I'm going to have to leave a little bit behind because I only need 12. Okay, salt and pepper. Let's see, how much salt and pepper? 3/4 teaspoon of salt and 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. So we'll find our 3/4 teaspoon. We don't have a 3/4, so we'll go with 1/4 3 times of salt. So 1, 2, 3/4 teaspoon of salt and 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. This is my 1/4 teaspoon measure. So in goes my pepper. And now, whisk that in a little bit. Get our salt and pepper in there. Now to that, we'll add our cheese. So 12 ounces, this is a 16-ounce bag. A little bit more. And that's going to be about, I'm imagining 2 2-ounce cups. That's going to be about 4 ounces of cheese left. And that's really going to thicken up our custard. My mama calls this a custard for the macaroni and cheese. This is really going to get thick. Let that cheese melt and salt and pepper get in there real good. Yeah, that's quickly melting. Looking real good. And we will add this to our macaroni and mix it all together. And then we'll put it in our casserole dish. Wonderful. That looks great. Alrighty, here we go. All over that macaroni. All right, and now we'll mix together our macaroni and our custard together. And Eddie, take a look while I'm mixing this. Right down in front of Eddie, there's this super neat little apron. This is from the Made with Love collection. Look, there's Mama on the front. Some cool stuff that you get in that little box with this great little cookbook. I'm really, really happy that my mom taught me how to cook when I was a kid and how to clean up after myself. And those two things have served me very, very well in life. All right, now that looks really, really, really good. A couple things I still have to do. I've got to grease my casserole dish here. So I'm going to use some pan coating. I think I'll find it right down here somewhere. Let's see. Middle drawer. Here we go. All right, so lightly greased. Just a little spray. So our macaroni doesn't stick. And we'll add that. Whoops. Right into our casserole dish. Yeah, look at that thick and creamy macaroni and cheese. Gosh. Wow, look at that. Ooh. Have your friends come over, guys. Bring all the kids from the neighborhood. Have them come over for macaroni and cheese, because you're going to have enough to feed a kid army. All right. That all spread throughout. And now one more thing that I have to do is make the topping. For the topping, 2 tablespoons of butter. We've got that here already melted. And we measured it earlier, so we know that it's 2 tablespoons. And 4 tablespoons of dry breadcrumbs. And a little bit of salt and pepper. It doesn't tell us how much salt and pepper. I'm just going to use a little pinch of salt. And a little pinch of pepper. And now our 4 tablespoons of dry breadcrumbs. And this is our 1 tablespoon measuring spoon. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Great. And now we will mix that together. And we'll put it right over the top of our macaroni and cheese. And that's going to give us a nice golden brown crust on the top. Yeah, that looks great. Not a whole lot of it, so we're going to have to be strategic with how we put this on top of our mac and cheese. Okay. Let's try to evenly spread this out. Okay. And what does it say to do with our macaroni and cheese now that we've got it ready? Bake for 30 minutes and remove from the oven and let it cool prior to serving. So we're done. All we got to do is pop in the oven 30 minutes at, what's the temperature? 375. Oven's already hot. So we'll pop this in the oven, take a break, and we'll come back. Our macaroni and cheese is out of the oven, and it looks and smells so, so great. Okay, guys, way too hot to taste right now. I'm going to have to let that cool a little bit. But let's talk about the measuring that we did earlier. You'll remember that our recipe called for a 16-ounce box of pasta, right? It called for like 3 cups of milk and a stick of butter, which is broken down into tablespoons. So the tablespoon of butter, or excuse me, the stick of butter is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tablespoons. And we cut that and reserved off 2 tablespoons for the topping. We talked about a wet measuring cup, right? And why it's a wet measuring cup. So when you're pouring in your liquids and stuff and you see your lines on the inside, you can read them. They're facing you, which is really handy for measuring like milk or water or stuff like that. And then you got your dry measuring cups, right? So here would be a dry cup, and it would measure a little bit differently than this. This is for things like flour and sugar, and then for water and milk and things like that. And you've even got teaspoons, tablespoons, half teaspoon, half tablespoon. My mom has this beautiful set of measuring spoons that I love, and she's even got. Look at this, guys. You've probably never seen anything like this. Look. So here's a smidgen, here's a pinch, and here's a dash. How about that? You ever seen anything like that? I love it. So anyhow, we're learning to measure and we're learning to cook at the same time. So cook with your family, make delicious things like macaroni and cheese from this great Made with Love cookbook, Kids in the Kitchen. I think that you'll really enjoy it. Anything that gets you in the kitchen cooking with your family is a plus. So that's it for Kids Camp today. Keep joining us for more, and we'll see you next time.
Hey y'all, it's Paula Deen. Now, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it and click the subscribe button as well as the notification bell to be alerted when I post a video. Love and best dishes, y'all.